So do you like nap? Like, do you believe in them or no?
I wake up tired.
From naps.
Yeah.
Well, check this out. Wow, look at this. So check this out. I read another article, and it said it's like a cappuccino nap.
Hello, and welcome back to the Widener World of Sports podcast for our second episode of Season 2. I'm your host, Greg Spica, the Director of Athletic Communications here at Widener. On this episode, we're joined by
Jordan Downs, head strength and conditioning coach.
Elise Daniel, junior. I'm on the track and field team.
Myles Calderbank, sophomore on the baseball team.
This episode will dive into sleep, nutrition, and burnout within college athletics and everyday life. And we'll hear some thoughts from our strength and conditioning coach and two Pride student athletes. Jordan, I also hear that we celebrated a big day yesterday. Happy belated.
Thank you. We greatly appreciate it.
I hear someone did something in your office. Yeah, the whole office got decorated by multiple people. I think it was probably like a 12-person job. So those 12 people greatly appreciated. It was an awesome gift to walk into. Got my my refrigerator wrapped in newspaper. I mean, not newspaper, in gift wrap. So it was definitely a fun experience for sure. But yeah, so I want to start the conversation off with knowing that you both both participate in sports that are longer in duration, right? So as far as keeping yourself mentally locked in, kind of avoiding the burnout, fatigue mentally during your sport, what are some things that you both do during the entire time of your sport while you're waiting for either the next at-bat or the next race?
I mean, we always got like snacks in the dugout, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Rachel's always down there with some candy granola bars, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're between at-bats, you're feeling a little tired or something like that.
Yeah.
Dude's always got energy drinks on the bench and stuff like that.
They got it all.
It's all there. It's all there if we need.
Yeah. And then Elise, what about you?
I feel like everyone on my team usually like splits up and we all listen to like music. We all have our own like special little track meet playlist that we listen to.
Okay.
And I know I don't like to talk to anyone between my races or like before meets or anything, because like people just talk about anything.
Yeah.
So you kind of just have to like keep to yourself sometimes.
Okay. So do you think your personality of keeping to yourself before like a race, even no matter how big or how little, kind of reflects your overall personality, like as far as like just being an athlete? Do you know what I'm saying?
I feel like when I'm not at meets, I'm a little more outgoing.
Okay. So it's like kind of like two different Elises in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then for you, Myles, I know you said a lot of people, as far as like being in a dugout, you guys are snacking. You got Rachel looking out with the fruit gummies and stuff like that. As far as nutrition goes, what do you typically see done before, like say if it's a away game, before you even get on a bus? What's typically the go-to meal for Myles going to a away game? A long away game night, not something 20, 30 minutes down the street. We got a 2-hour bus ride. What are you typically getting?
So, I mean, baseball is a very superstitious sport. So, you see guys eating the same thing every day on the way to a game, in the locker room, stuff like that. So, I mean, if we got a long day, I mean, it kind of depends, because like if it's on the weekend, we got a long day. We're leaving bright and early, 7 a.m. So maybe like a bacon, egg, and cheese or something.
There we go.
Day going.
Doesn't matter where the bacon, egg, and cheese is from.
Usually a Wawa Sizzler.
You can't go wrong with the red box. You can't go wrong with the red box.
But I mean, since they closed it down now for a year, I'm not sure if I'm going to be traveling to a farther Wawa or what the deal's going to be there. Well,
I'm assuming because you're a superstitious person, right? I just realized too, like I went to that Wawa as well to retrieve some things, and I realized this week, like, whoa, where does Wawa get? I was like, where did it walk to? So, but I think for you, right? So as far as the Wawa Sizzly, do you ever foresee it potentially changing, or is it like multiple Sizzlies or just one?
Usually just one.
Okay, all right, nice and easy. And then what are we getting on the side? A nice beverage or anything, or no?
Probably an energy drink.
Okay.
For the most part, maybe a chocolate milk if I'm feeling it that
morning. You know, a chocolate milk could also, I think that'd probably help you the most as far as like your sport being longer in duration. Yeah. And then I know at least before we even got on air, we were speaking a little bit about your team's habits as far as like nutrition goes. I don't know if you want to mention what you guys typically do before meets. What does that look like typically?
So usually the coaches bring us Dunkin' Donuts, and I feel like everyone gets like the same thing.
Wait, you said the coaches?
Yeah.
That's a nice coaching staff. That's a nice coaching staff.
Like me, I take all the glazed munchkins.
There we go.
And I know like some of my teammates, they eat the same thing. It's like a blueberry muffin or a chocolate chip muffin before we race. Yeah. It's really superstitious. Like everybody eats the same thing. Yeah. Even the night before. Like.
Yeah. Now I would say, right. So we obviously know your sports, both of your sports are longer in duration, right? I know you mentioned, Myles, briefly that you may eat something before an at bat, right? Or is that the case for you?
I mean, it just depends on the day.
Okay.
It's never like I need to eat this before an at bat.
Okay.
It's my stomach's turning a little bit.
Okay. So let's see. So same thing for you. Would you ever eat something right before a competition? Like maybe not a few minutes, but maybe like, let's say half an hour before.
It's probably really bad. I don't really eat at meets.
Well, no, you typically, so I was actually reading this article from the Gatorade like Sports Institute, and they came out with these different like guidelines for athletes, right? Like 4 hours before like competition to like they broke it down from 4 hours to essentially like 30 minutes. And the biggest difference I seen was like 4 hours before. So in a sense, before either one of you get on the bus, and before you compete, they were saying like eating like chicken Alfredo, like chicken Alfredo or like spaghetti and meatballs. You know, it was like a pretty hefty type of like. But I'm assuming these people were probably playing at night. I don't know if you guys would eat chicken Alfredo or stuff like that for breakfast. But I was thinking for this, it was saying 4 hours before chicken Alfredo, some garlic bread, like a lot of stuff, right? And then before the actual competition, it was talking more so along the lines of like a quick granola bar, maybe like a fruit, maybe some juice, you know what I mean, kind of going from there. So I just wanted to see your thoughts between, I kind of already seen your initial reaction of eating a little bit of heavier type of meal. Now, granted, let's say you're competing later in the day, like it's not like a morning type of thing. What are both of your thoughts in regards to eating something heavier along the sides for prior to competition, like way before competition?
Now, I mean, if I were to run track like that, I would not eat anything like that. But I mean, baseball, you're not running as much as you run track.
So you're open to it then? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. 100%. All right. I'll definitely pass the message along. And then
I have nervous stomach. So
yeah, look, I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's totally different, and it's A-okay. But especially like going into the next topic of everybody being different, right? Burnout. Right. So everybody kind of handles it differently. You know, I think everybody, as far as like being an athlete, it's a little bit more prevalent, right? Because you have so many high demands in regards to what you demand from yourself, but also what your coaches demand from you, what your teachers demand from you, what your family might demand from you. So how do you both, like what tactics do you typically implement when you either are getting close? Well, what tactics do you typically implement when you do reach burnout?
I like to listen to music.
Yeah, you like to listen to music?
Because usually I don't really have time to do like a lot of things. So like my only time that I have free time is when I'm walking down to practice.
Are you serious?
Really?
Okay.
And so like I put my headphones on and I like blast music in my headphones because it's like, it's relaxing.
Yeah. Is there a specific artist that you listen to?
No, I have like 1,000 different playlists.
Okay, I was just checking. I didn't know if you were going to say Drake. Yeah, there we go. That's the number one go-to. Myles, for you, what do you typically do?
Mine would sort of be the same thing, but a lot of times like I don't do like a lot of like work by myself. Like usually I'm either with a teammate or like we're all together. So we're all listening to music together. It's not just me, but like bunch of the guys are blasting music. We're all like jumping around, like, yelling at each other, getting everyone hyped back up again.
Yeah, no, I find it pretty interesting too. It took me until I stopped being an athlete to kind of realize this, because you know, like when you are an athlete, you're kind of go, right? You have certain things scheduled out for you in a certain span of a day, as far as like classes, practice, meetings, and so forth. But I realized it's like after, right? Like scheduling time for yourself to actually like, all right, this is my time to be Elise, or this is my time to be Myles. So I wanted to see if you were able to kind of have that time for yourself, right? Like say you scheduled, how long is a practice? 2 hours? If you had 2 hours to just do whatever you wanted to, you're still a student athlete, of course, but 2 hours to kind of do whatever you wanted to in the midst of your college student day, what would you spend it on? Like, what would you do with your 2 hours?
I'd either be just laying in bed, scrolling through social medias, maybe, playing Xbox with some of the guys on the team.
Yeah. That's the typical Myles way of relaxing. Okay.
Yeah, if I got some free time, it's definitely how it's being spent.
Okay. Elise, what about you?
Probably just like watching a movie or something.
Yeah, for 2 hours. Okay, look, that's typical. Because, some people, like, another way this question is typically phrased is like, what's your perfect day? Like, what would you do with your perfect day? And, like, obviously, I assume in both of your perfect days, it would be somewhat, like, you would play your sport, interact with people. But what ways would you kind of, help yourself? Like, so it's pretty refreshing, knowing, like, all right, like, you'd watch a movie, Myles would go ahead and hop on a game, play some good stuff there. And then as far as like, because you're both, what you said, second years, correct?
I'm a junior.
Junior?
Sophomore. Yeah.
So if you were speaking to, let's say, a younger athlete, maybe like a sophomore in high school or junior in high school, right? What advice would you give them before they get to college, knowing the demands in regards to like being an athlete, preparing themselves, kind of avoiding burnout?
I would say time management.
Yeah.
Number one for sure.
Yeah, time management. Okay.
It's a really big one. Like being able to manage your time, but also making time for yourself.
Yeah. No, those are both critical things. I mean, you got to plan time out for yourself the same way you plan time for practice, for school, for whatever it is else that you want to do throughout the day. I'm trying to think of some other questions. Let's see. I asked you about burnout. We did nutrition.
Sleep.
Oh man. So, if there's nothing to do, right? You go to bed, say 10 o'clock, right? Nothing scheduled for tomorrow. What time would we wake up? Would we like to wake up? What time would we like to wake up?
There's two different answers.
Okay. Here's my issue. In my dorm room right now, the one wall is a full window. The whole wall is a window.
Okay.
So as soon as the sun comes up, it's like someone just turned the lights on in the room. So I'm always up by 8 or 9.
8 or 9. No, that's the latest you could sleep. Okay.
That's how it's always been like that my whole life anyway.
8 or 9. So even if you went to sleep later in the night, 8 or 9, the latest.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have two answers. Yeah. So I would like to wake up at like 9:30.
Okay.
But I live in a house with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And my room's in the basement. Mm-hmm. And so whenever anyone gets up, I can hear them come downstairs.
I see.
So I'm a late sleeper. So like I usually wake up at like 7:30.
Okay. Now, so 7:30. So if you had nothing scheduled the next day, I'm hearing that Myles would typically get close to maybe 11 hours. If you go to bed at 10, you get about 11. And then you said 7:30.
But I want to wake up at 9.
9. Okay, so 11. Now, if we do have things scheduled the next day, right, what time are we typically getting to bed? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually you try to get to bed by like 11 o'clock, midnight, something like that.
11 o'clock, midnight. Wait, so what time's the first thing you got in the morning?
Let's say I got 9 o'clock class.
Yeah.
You gotta get to bed by midnight usually.
By midnight. And then what time are we waking up before the 9 a.m.?
Maybe like 8:30.
8:30? Okay.
As soon as the alarm once or twice.
Okay. All right. That's common nowadays. And then Elise?
So as a junior, I'm a nursing student, so I have clinicals.
Yeah.
And I usually have to be there at like 6 a.m. So I'm usually up by like 5:20.
Okay. What time are we going to sleep?
Like 1.
Oh. Well, no, I'm glad we're having these conversations, right? So I was doing some more research. I typically, when I'm in my office, I just read a bunch of articles, right? If I'm not coaching, if I'm not programming, I'm reading articles. And another article said that for student athletes like yourselves, right, it's tough to kind of get a good, like, they say recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a day. But the thing is like, it's a lot. It's tougher nowadays. For example, like you might be sleeping maybe 5 hours, 6 hours on a good day if you go to bed early, right?
Good thing that I don't have classes on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Okay, yeah. So look, right? So the article was saying essentially is like treating the week, right? Like you try to get like, I think it said 56 hours or something like that. And it said treating the week throughout the entire week, like trying to get like your sleep into that bank, right? So if you're able to get 9 hours of sleep on a Monday, like Monday night and Tuesday night, but then Tuesday and Wednesday you only get like 3, it's like, all right, let's try to make it up on the next night, or let's try to take a nap here.
You're trying to get the total hours.
Yeah, try to get the total hours in the week instead of like opposed to like daily, because again, like some days it doesn't always work like that. I know for me. Now, granted, I'm not a student athlete. Full disclaimer, I'm not a student athlete, right? But for me, if I have to be up a little bit later, right, I still have to wake up at the same time. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So where I typically catch up, make up most of my ground for sleeping, is like that Friday and the Saturday. Like once I get home, I take a nap, I wake up again, take another nap, wake up again, and then it's like, all right, it's 8:00 by now. Let's go to sleep. You know what I mean? So those are just a little bit of things. But I mean, I hope these are cool tips for you guys to kind of carry away from this. But it's pretty impressive, Myles, that you're getting 8 to 9 hours.
Some days a lot less.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, look, Myles, you're doing good. You're doing a good job. At least I hope we can get you. We can find somewhere, or maybe utilize the nap. But I know some people taking a nap can turn into a deep sleep real quick. So I don't know if is that your case as far as like taking naps, or you just?
I'm a really light sleeper.
So do you like nap? Like, do you believe in them or no?
I wake up tired.
From naps.
Yeah.
Well, check this out. Wow, look at this. So check this out. I read another article, and it said it's like a cappuccino nap. So like you drink coffee, and you take a nap immediately after, right? Like you drink your coffee, you take a nap immediately after. Set a timer for like 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes. And essentially what's supposed to happen is when you wake up, you're supposed to be like double energized because you had the coffee, and then you also, like you just got some well rested. So I don't know if you want to try it. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying like this is just information for you to use for your own purposes. But that could, I see you got the Frappuccino from Starbucks right here. So I just figured I'd go ahead and mention that for you. So
got a lot of homework to do.
So back when you were a student athlete,
oh man,
what was your day like with like sleep wise, eating, stuff like that? How was it for you back then?
So I kid you not. So the sport I played was football. So at that time it was like really like weight heavy based, right? So I think for me, I was trying to eat. I think I didn't have a good grasp on like my nutritional caloric intake that I do now. But I was trying to eat good enough. Like I was in the cafeteria, chicken, rice, broccoli, trying to fill out my plates the best I can, eating like fruits and vegetables like at every meal, like with like a side salad, like a fruit cup. But the biggest thing for me was like, all right, like I need to kind of maintain my weight because, the position I played as well as a running back. So I spent most of my practice like running around and stuff. So I was trying to like fill my plate the best way I can so I can kind of fuel myself for what's to come on like every Saturday. So like, as far as like Saturday, like, so leading up to the game, I would eat a good amount of food, probably like say if I needed, I think maybe like 2,600 calories. I was probably eating like close to like 2,800. And then as far as sleep would go, I would actually sleep like 9 to 10 hours. Like, yeah, I know. And it was like pretty crazy though.
You're saying 9 to 10 a night? Or
a night
before the game?
No, like 9 to 10 a night. The night before a game, I'd be asleep by like 8. Like I'd be asleep by 8, wake up like 8.
Jordan was the most well-rested student athlete I've ever met.
Like I was not playing around. Like I would go back, and then it was like I would do like like the superstition thing, right? So for some odd reason, every other day, I'm a fan sleeper. I like to have a fan on. Like I like a cold room. Night before game, heat on full blast. Like not playing. I don't know why it was.
It's foul.
But I just heat on full blast. So that's what my typical, when I was an athlete, as far as like eating and then like resting, that's what I would typically do. And then the day after the game, obviously even the hours after the game, I was so tapped that like it kind of like everything I did from Sunday to Friday kind of was like expended on like every Saturday. So
now that full blast heat the night before you, did that like help you sleep, or like were you waking up sweating? Like
I'm wondering how you slept.
I don't know what it was. So this is the thing. It was more like, I think it was like more of a mental game for me, because it was like, all right, like if I'm so comfortable being uncomfortable, there's nothing like anybody else could do to me. So I think it was more so that, but at the same time, like I just kind of found like kind of comfort in the chaos, So it's like any little thing I could kind of do to like mentally prepare myself to have like an edge. That's what I thought back then. Like, all right, like I sleep with the heat on. Nobody's sleeping with the heat on. Like I'm gonna be ready to go. Or say if it was like, oh, I remember now why. So if I knew it was going to be a hot game, I would sleep with the heat on and try to get used to the heat. And then if it was a cold game, I would have the AC on full blast and like try to prep myself for the day of. So that's the reason why. Now looking back at it, which is pretty wild to say. Like saying it out loud is pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah. That's an interesting take. Right
I had to do what it took. I had to do what it takes. So
this might be off topic, but like speaking of like game superstitions.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
I mean, you're always warming up with the same person, like having a catch with the same person every game.
Yeah.
When you go out to the field, you do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many that each player on the team does. Like you can't. Some of them, like I probably don't even know I do. That I just happens every single time I get out on the field. So.
Yeah. Elise, do you have any?
Only one person is allowed to talk to me before I race.
Who's that? Like, just in general, anybody?
No, there's a specific person.
Oh.
Because she gives the best pep talks.
Shout out to that person. Yeah. Shout out to that person for sure. No, that's great. I would say, for me, now, I got two answers, right? As a coach, my superstition, before anybody comes in the weight room, right, I have to tie my shoes a certain way. So, like, while people are waiting to get in the weight room, it's typically me, like, behind the door, like, tying my shoes a certain way before that's how I know, like, all right, I'm locked. And once I do that last knot, it's like, all right, I'm locked in. Like, this is Coach Downs mode. As a player, I was kind of like you, Elise. I wouldn't talk to anybody. Like, I wouldn't say anything, like, headphones in, like, just wouldn't speak, like, legit wouldn't speak to anybody.
Too many people takes me out of my zone.
Yeah, like, it was, I don't know, like, looking back at it, it might have been, it was kind of great, like, quite a while to think about. But yeah, I didn't talk to anybody, like, parent, like my mother, like nobody was talking. So I think in that facet we do share some similarities as far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool you got that one person to give you the pep talk. So
yeah,
like that's, I mean, shout out to that person for sure.
Now, like you were saying, you were running back. So yeah, that's definitely a big burnout too. Like during the game, was there like a halftime snack you had or something, or how'd you keep up with that?
Yeah, so I would typically eat like whatever fruit they had in the like the locker room. I would typically eat that. But I try to stick to like apples or bananas, just because like the thing is, now looking back at it, the electrolytes that I would lose like through sweating and like moving and so forth, I was just trying to replenish the best way I could. But I typically stuck to just water though. Like I wouldn't try to drink Gatorade or anything like that. Like Gatorade, and then I would eat the fruits and bananas during half times. As far as like trying to recover as much as I can, like before going back out. So, and then I know you both mentioned you don't even touch anything in between either races or an at bats, correct?
Yeah, usually not.
Yeah,
sometimes here and there. But.
Maybe like a bite of a peanut butter and jelly. But.
A bite of a PB&J.
Our snack boxes.
Yeah. Wait, that's a snack box is like.
We have like a huge bin full of. Good things to eat.
There we go. Look, there's no good or bad things to eat. There's just things to eat. That's all it is.
Yeah, once we get to like double headers on the weekends, like Saturday double header.
Yeah.
Coach Burdick, he always got us with snacks.
He got you guys with some good cheesesteaks.
Yeah. Some hoagies.
Some hoagies.
Something like that.
No, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
I guess I have a question for everyone, but like, say you're like losing like a game and you're just so tired. Like, how do you deal with that?
So down at the field, between every half inning, we got music going. Like when one team's coming off the field, other team's going out to the field, and usually we got whoever's running the music. They know like what songs we got to hear. So if we know we got to turn it up and they put a good song on, that kind of switches the mood for everyone in the dugout.
No, that's some good stuff. I didn't even think about that. So in a case for your sport, Elise, do you typically know the score before you race?
So Max is the only meet that we care about scoring for. So if we're like losing, you can literally tell on everybody. We all have our phones out. We're looking at the live scoring results every 5 minutes, and when our team isn't like where we want to be.
Yeah.
And you kind of just see people like start walking up to each other and trying to give each other like pep talks, like say someone's about to race or like they're getting ready to warm up. You just try to talk to them and like give them as much confidence that they can do really well in their race. Yeah. And usually it helps. Yeah. Well, it has helped.
I was going to say, so in your case, say there's a turning point that you're about to participate in, but people try to come up to you and say something. Are you, where's my one person at? Like, get out the way? Or is it more so like you're listening to everybody? Because I'm assuming you don't have your headphones in as you're prepping for a race. So how does that go for you?
So like by now, like a lot of people know that I don't like being talked to. And like some people will try to talk to me and I'll like let them. But like the one person, she knows when I like need words of wisdom.
Okay.
And she'll come up to me or I'll go up to her.
Yeah. But Okay. And then Myles, your sport's pretty unique as well because you can go from being down 5-0 and then in a matter of just a few at bats, it could, be tied up or so for you, what do you typically do in a sense where you're like facing a larger deficit, like something larger than normal?
So a big thing that we always say is just pass the bat. So it's like if you're down by like 5 runs, you're not going to tie the game with one swing. So it's just try to get on base, let the next guy get up. Get on base, let the next guy get up, and just chip away at it like that. So that's a big way that we face it whenever we're down.
That's good enough. I mean, you could definitely use that in everyday life too, like day at a time, hour at a time, minute at a time. That's some good stuff. That's some good words of wisdom there.
Yeah, it is.
But
I mean, going off of that, we always say it never comes down to one person.
When you're racing?
I feel like it goes for every sport. Like, it's never one person's fault that the team didn't do what they need to be doing.
You got a point. You got a huge point.
I feel like everyone has to like come together and do what they need to do all together.
No, you do have a point there because typically, it never comes down to just one person. Now, granted, it might come down to one moment. Accumulation of like the entire day. Like, all right, but in order to get there, it does take a group, a team, an effort. As far as I think that's the beautiful thing about team sports, though. Like, it's not just going to be one person that's going to either make or break it. But I mean, there's going to be a moment at some point where it's going to, somebody has to win, right?
Yeah.
But for both your sports, I think the lessons that you are learning as far as passing the bat or it doesn't come down to one person is going to essentially carry you throughout now your professional life too. Like once the days come to the end of you both being college athletes, and you do get into a team environment as far as your work setting and stuff like that, it's probably going to be a lot easier for you both to transition into that because you've had this background experience for 3 years now, and Myles 2 years about to go. You know what I mean? So it's it's some beautiful stuff that you learn just from playing the sport. So it's really refreshing knowing that Widener has some of the greatest student athletes on the earth's on the earth, in period. You know, it's great stuff. So,
Jordan, Elise, and Myles, thanks for joining us on episode 2 of the Widener World of Sports podcast. As always, you can check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. To the 3 of you and everybody listening, happy Thanksgiving, and go Pride.